Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and a link in the info box below the video once it has rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show increases the live audience, of course, and this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Ranty, Nummy, John, and who is that last person?
It's presuppositional sphere.
Presuppositional sphere. Good to have you, whoever you may be.
It's actually
Welcome, one and all, ladies or gentlemen, and/or.
Welcome. So, what are we going to talk about today? Or are we just going to go with the flow?
I think we have a lot of stuff. We just watched behind the scene. And yeah, I just had a funny suggestion for Nathan.
Yeah, you go
why
ahead.
not make a new t-shirt with presuppositional sphere? For some reason, since you started using that terminology, I can't get the word out of my head. I thought that's probably going to be a really cool idea for a t-shirt or something like that.
I'll give some credit to somebody who said this ages ago, which was Validation Boy, probably 12 months ago, put out a video saying exactly that. All arguments for the globe are based on the presupposition that you're on a globe, and never a truer word has been spoken.
I'll give him that. But just the word, presuppositional sphere. It's just...
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know, it's funny.
Normally have a
So
little
be free
chit-chat
to
about the
use
weather.
that.
We all go, it's beautiful here, it's terrible here, it's lovely here. It is actually beautiful here, I'm not going to lie. It's absolutely fantastic. Gorgeous weather.
Yeah, same here. This is like the 7th or 8th day, perfect clear skies in a row. It's never seen this. Years.
Is. So, for those of you in the audience, I know I say this every show, but please do share the show, because hopefully, with a little bit of luck, Anthony's going to join the show later and absolutely hammer Charles. And for me, this is quite an important turn of events, because up until now, we're in a position where people will make these long-range observations, and the mathematics is done based on the presupposition that you're on a sphere, and that mathematics will come out one way or the other, and you can argue the toss about whether or not that is actually the case, i.e. the natural world is a sphere based on your presuppositional mathematics. Anyway, that being the case, we've never been in a position that you can actually physically run a tape measure down a stretch of given land and work out how much drop there is or how much curvature there is. But in the last, 3-4 days, we've been left with a position where Charles, Flat Earth Math, has declared that there is a 9-foot drop between Anthony and the sea level. Now, in this instance, he can physically run a tape measure down it, and he has. That's exactly what he's done. He's gone and measured the relief between him and the sea level. So he's currently editing together a video to hopefully present on this show. It may be presented standalone. It doesn't really matter either way. But a lot of us, including Arwin, who declares it with bullshit every time he says that it's a 9-foot drop. And it is total and utter nonsense. You know, it's obviously and observably flat. Now, that's not to say that there isn't a certain degree of relief, hence Anthony put himself at 1 foot. Now, I'm still happy to stand by that, and Anthony will come and demonstrate exactly why, having been to the location myself, and Ranty has also. So, you know, I hope you're listening, Ranty, because I'm going to be getting you to pop your 2 penny with him.
Flat as a pancake there. Flat as a pancake.
Right. flat as a pancake. That's the terminology I use, and it is. And now that's not to say there is no relief. That would be preposterous, because obviously it's running down. There's water that is running off it. It's not pooling in a puddle. It's dissipating. So there is relief. Now I'd be ludicrous to say there wasn't, but there is no way on God's green earth there is 9 foot of drop between Anthony and the sea level. So that's what he's gone and measured, and it's easy to demonstrate. The thing going forward that it helps us with is to demonstrate how they fudge the maths, how they can use spurious things like the horizon to trick people. And that's what Charles is doing here. He's tricking people into believing that you have a significant amount of drop between the sea level and Anthony's observer position. And there simply isn't any drop. But like I say, until now, we've never been in a position to say, here you go, this is how much it physically measures with a tape measure and a diopter app. That's the accepted standard to date. That's how the Globers and us have been measuring things like hills to get height above sea level. So in this instance, we're not measuring a hill, we're measuring a very, very flat piece of sand. So you'll see hopefully the results of that later on. But yeah, like I say, do share the show. Hopefully we can get a reasonable audience to see just how disingenuous people like Charles, who believe they live on a sphere, actually are, and what they do and manipulate in terms of the mathematics to convince you there's drop values that are outrageous. And in the case of the Earth itself, they're trying to convince people there's an exponential curve. And it is outrageous. The Earth is obviously and observably flat.
Yeah, I've also been working on some things from the Barrow footage. I went again recently and I went again today. I think I've been down now the last 5 days, I think, looking at it. And one thing that sticks out is the RNLI station and the lighthouse. Now, I ran something by you before. What did you think about my proposition for why we're seeing some refraction in certain areas and little refraction in others?
It's a good enough extrapolation of what you can physically see in the imagery. So yeah, I liked your explanation after you. I was aghast when you said, "Let me show you on Google Earth," and I'm like, "Tell me with the imagery." And then you did explain in terms of the depth of field that you have with the observation that you're making. You're looking down down the length of an almond, a bit like with the Isle of Man, but much more severe. So yeah, I mean, whether or not your explanation is correct is less relevant in terms of what you've got. You've got yet another absolutely smashing flat Earth observation. Stuff that's at a considerable distance that, if you were to presuppose you're on a sphere, should be behind the curve of that sphere, blocked by X amount of bulge, and nothing is anything like the case in your imagery. So from that perspective, it's just glorious as far as I'm concerned. It's nice that now we are pointing out that in order to believe you're on a sphere, you first have to presuppose you're on a sphere. It's nice that since that's been highlighted mainly by John, who's on the panel right now, it's simply the case that we are absolutely smashing them even with their presupposition. They're still losing even using their funny fudged mathematics. Did you want me to present you, Ranty?
Yeah, sure. I'd just like to put a little presentation together. It'll only take five or 6 minutes just to show you what I've been doing.
Put myself on mute.
Put yourself on mute, did you say?
Yeah, because I'll be tempted to interrupt, and I just want you to present.
Oh, right. Okay. So I have been going back quite a lot to this location here, and I've been filming Barrow from pretty much this position here. So as I look over to Barrow, what I've been finding is that I can easily see the lighthouse and I can easily see the boathouse, and everything else seems to be refracted and mirrored. Now, when we look at the lighthouse is here, and basically we're looking across a body of water with no interruptions, apart from this little piece of land here, which is only around about 60 or 70 feet or so to the lighthouse. So that's the only air density change that you're going to get before you get to the lighthouse. Also, with the RNLI station, which is here, there is the lifeboat station itself is situated in the water, so we've got a clear line of sight to that, and there's nothing in the way. So the fact that I can see this RNLI station and also the lighthouse without any refraction, bearing in mind, or mirroring, I'm going to say that it's because it doesn't have to go across land and then water and land and water again. Now, in the video I'm just going to show you in a second, I'm looking across this body of water here, then we cross over this land, and then we cross over the water again, and then we end up crossing over some more land before we actually get to the buildings that we'll be looking at. So there's 4 changes in air density, right? Whereas the lighthouse and the boat station have basically had next to nothing, certainly nothing with the lifeboat station. It's just across water. So I'm going to show you the video. I'm just going to scroll back to the start. Now this is where I was filming from. This is where I was filming from. I'm right by the water. I'm holding it at chest height because you can turn the viewer on the P900 so you can look at it. So I was able to hold it quite steady. So I would say I was around about 4.5 feet. Now, there is the lighthouse. That is the lighthouse there. There's the little sand dune that's in front of it. Now, the lighthouse is not refracted in any way, but the buildings behind it, so anything behind that, so further away over this landmass, over the water into the behind it, has had density changes, air density changes. Now, especially with these buildings here. Now, you can see the doubling up that's going on across these. Now, that is the buildings that I was talking about, where it's had four changes of air density. You can see the refraction. Obviously, the lighthouse is not suffering that fate. And when I pause it here, that is the RNLI boat station. So I'm looking just across water to that. It's not had any air density change. And we're actually seeing that RNLI station. There's the ramp that people walk along to get into it. And there's the slip road. There's the exit to the RNLI station. And I'll show you an image of that. Here we go. This is the RNLI station in Barrow. The curvature calcs say that this should be around about 90 feet behind the curve. But we're actually seeing the entranceway to where the boats come in and go out. Now, if you also look in the video, you'll see there's no refraction going on. It's not reflected on itself. There's no mirroring going on. But the things behind it are all distorted. And again, I'm going to suggest that it's simply because we have no air density change between ourselves and what we are looking at, especially in this image. So we have 2 focal points that are of interest. We also have the, we also have the lighthouse. I'm just trying to remember the name of it. Let's see. That's not it. I can't remember the name of it now. Do you know, Nathan? Walney. Walney Lighthouse, sorry. Walney Lighthouse. So if I show you the Walney Lighthouse, which is here, it has a focal height of 69 feet. And if you went to the curve calcs, I'll show you on Google Earth. If I put a line of sight in here, let's clear that. And we'll see how far it was to the lighthouse first. In there. So just bear with me, my computer's running a bit slow at the minute. So we're looking at around about, what, 13.2 miles to that. If I put the curve calcs into that, 13.2, view height of, say, 5 feet, hidden 72.98 feet. We shouldn't even see the focal height of Walney Lighthouse, which is 69 feet, and it is visible clearly in the video. Also, the RNLI station, which is 14.8 miles away. I'll show you that on Google Earth as well. There we go. So yeah, 14.7 miles away. Put that into the curve calc as well. 14.7, viewer height 5 feet. Hidden should be 95 feet. Now, we've seen the RNLI station. I'm going to suggest that that building itself is maybe 30, 35 feet tall. The fact that we're actually seeing the roof, we're seeing the walkway, we're seeing the entrance to the building, well, the entrance to where the boats come in and out, that is not 97 feet. And there it is, across the body of water, with no interruptions and no refraction. So, like I say, the reason we're seeing in this entire video, we are seeing areas where it's refracted and mirrored. That's because it's having to go across air density changes. And that's my little presentation today.
That's super. You can probably guess what I'm going to ask you to do now, right?
Yeah, do it all again and concisely.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask slightly differently. Can you do it in 2 parts? So part 1 will be the lighthouse, part 2 will be the boathouse. But if you can just go through it all again, start with the lighthouse, all the way through it, and then all the way through with the boathouse. So it's separated. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah. Okay, so here I am by the water. I'm holding the camera at chest height, so around about 4.5 to 5 feet above the water at this time. I'm looking over towards Barrowing Furnace, and one of the first things you're going to observe is the lighthouse. It's called Walney Lighthouse, and there it is. As we're zooming in, you'll see it. There it is, nice and proud. So it is clearly all visible from base to top, with the sand dune that's just in front of it. We've seen this in other images. If I show you on Google Earth where I took the image from, that was from this location here. I'm going to do a distance measurement to that, which is here. The distance is 13.24 miles. Now, the whole point of this video and analysing it is the fact that when we're looking at the buildings to the left of the lighthouse, which is these buildings over here, they're having to go through air density changes of water, land, water, and land before you get to the buildings which are here. Also, with the lifeboat station, which I'll talk about in a moment, there is no air density change to that. And with the lighthouse as well, I mean, there is almost no air density change between that, the water and the land. And I think that's why we're seeing crystal clear images of the lighthouse and crystal clear images of the lifeboat station, and everything else that's in the video is refracted, and that's because everything else is behind or has to go through more than one change, more than one air density change before we actually see it, and that's why it's all mirrored. So I'll show you on the video. If you look to the left, they're the buildings that I'm talking about, and the buildings on the right, behind the lighthouse, they are all doubled and refracted, and that is because they have on here, these are these buildings over here, so they've had to go over water, land, water, and land to see these, and they've been mirrored. And yet the lighthouse is, and we're seeing that nicely in the foreground because it has had hardly any effects of air density change. So curvature calcs for this, which was 13.24 miles. If we go to Metabunk and we put 13.24, hidden should be 73 feet. And if we look at Walney Lighthouse itself, the focal height of Walney Lighthouse is...
Sorry, can you just put the curve calcs on? My screen was too big, my bad.
Okay, so here we have the curve calcs, 13.24 miles, viewer height 5 feet, hidden 73.54. And if we look at the focal height of Walney Lighthouse, it is 69 feet. So essentially, we shouldn't see any of that lighthouse. So that's the lighthouse done. This is for the boat station, which is here. I'm going to do a measurement for that, see how far it is to the boat station from where I took the image. And the distance to that is 14.73 miles. So on the video itself, again, it's the same video. I'm by the water's edge. I'm at an elevation of around about 5 feet. I can show you that here. I'm holding the camera at chest height, and I'm zooming in towards Barrow Furnace. As I scroll through, you will actually see there is the RNLI station. Now you can see the rampway leading up to it. You can see the roof. You can see the entranceway, which is very square. It's a very, very distinctive building. And I'll show you an image of that on Google, which is here. So we're looking this way, almost facing it. And you can see the square entranceway, the arched roof. And you can see the slipway where they walk along to get into it. Now then, if we do a curvature calc on that, I forgot what it was now. Was it 14 point? Properties, measurement, 14.7. So 14.7 miles. Viewer height 5 feet. Hidden should be 95 feet. Now, this is the RNLI station. It's my suggestion that this building is probably 35 feet high, probably no more. And we're seeing right down to the slipway. Now, again, there is nothing in my line of sight between this observational point here. It's just water all the way across to the RNLI station here. So because it hasn't had to go through an air density change, that's why we're able to see this very clear, and it's not mirrored or refracted. Anything else in the video, which I will upload later, including the lighthouse is visible, nice and clear. But everything else, all these buildings behind it, the air density change has to go through water, land, especially over this side, it has to go through water, land before you even see these buildings. So that's why the video is very good, because you can see crystal clear images of the lighthouse and the boat station, because there's no air density change in either of them, but all the buildings behind are mirrored and refracted, and that's because they've had to go through this process. I'll just show you on the video what I mean as we zoom through. Here are the buildings in the background that have had to go over that. They've had to be changed 4 times. You can see the mirroring effect that's happening here. And we don't get that on the lighthouse, which is there. And we don't get it on the boat station, the RNLI station. And that's my presentation for that one.
Can you do it all again?
No.
I'm only joking. That's absolutely awesome, Ranty. Thank you very much for sharing that with us.
Okay.
Very cool. Very cool.
So yeah, honestly, that's what I think's happening. I think that as soon as it hits a landmass, the density changes. It changes everything, and it starts to mirror things. And I think the video kind of proves that, because you can see that the two things that are easily identifiable, the lighthouse and the boat station, they're visible without any refraction going on, and everything else in it, everything behind, is being mirrored and refracted. But essentially, we shouldn't see any of them anyway. You know, the curvature calcs say that we shouldn't see any of them. So,
if you presuppose you're on a sphere.
Yeah, yeah. If we live on a sphere, we should not see them.
Awesome. Yeah. Well done. Like I say, it's nice that this stuff's coming thick and fast these days.
I'm sure other people. Well, the good thing is, I mean, through doing things like this, and I mean, Barrow's very unique in the fact that you have this landmass that you have to look over before you get, and then there's another body of water, and then there's land behind it. and the buildings luckily are quite tall there so that you can actually see them. So all this, the topography of that land is very unique. So being able to decipher what we've seen in the video was kind of a eureka moment for me, because I thought, well, how can we see the lighthouse and how can we see the boathouse when all the other buildings are refracted and mirrored? Well, why is that possible? And then when you actually look at the topography of the land, it kind of makes sense that the light you're looking through has had to have air density changes before it reaches the camera. Now, the fact that the distance is great for the boathouse and the lighthouse, because you shouldn't see any of them on a curve. You shouldn't see any of them on a spheroid ball Earth. But we're seeing them crystal clear. I mean, it's quite compelling evidence, really.
It is absolutely awesome. We didn't say a proper hello to Ali. How you doing? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. How's my volume?
Good, a little bit loud, but I'll sort that out. Don't adjust a thing. Nice new mic, maybe.
No, I think I've just not set it up right.
No, it's perfect. Good.
I've just got
Nice.
the headphones on at the moment, so
No quibbles from me.
good stuff. I just wanted to come on and say it's been really interesting the last few days with all the attacks and stuff like that. So, and that Flat Earth Maths new video there.
Yeah, that's going to get smashed to smithereens very shortly. Anthony's just dropped me a line on Skype to say he's like 70% rendered the video that he's going to hopefully present. I think he will get to present it on that show, but it looks this show rather.
Oh, good, because I think it was about a year and a half ago or something, or maybe 2 years ago. I was going to debate. Actually, I'd arranged a debate with Flat Earth Math, and then I seen him debate someone else just before Christmas. It was. I was meant to meet up after debate him after Christmas about this, and I watched the video. Watched him having a debate with someone else there. He's such a dishonest piece of rubbish. So as he keeps, he's dishonest. I know you were giving Arwen a hard time about it, so about supporting him, but he really is. If you just listen to the kind of the way that he talks and describes things, he always, when you ask him a question, he always takes it off onto another subject and stuff like that. So it's it'll be
right
quite
on.
interesting to see Anthony's video.
Well, it's exactly that. This whole thing with the eye height is a complete red herring. Again, we were chatting about this before the show. So that just like when he was at the higher elevations going up the hills, they just want to focus on the observer height because it distracts from the fact that we've got land that you shouldn't see, and none of their calculations work out anymore. Even when they do presuppose it and have got plenty of time to figure it all out and have it work well with the maths, with their presupposition, it still doesn't work. And they don't focus on that. They say, eye height. That's what we're going to focus on. Where is he standing? And in this case, it's like it's so outrageous to say that there's 9 feet between him and that shoreline. It's absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, he gets it's. I mean, that word liar is bandied about this community, a bit too much. But I don't think he's a liar. I just think he's a deceiver. Simple as. He's not even. I don't know. He's not being very honest about it anyway. He's deceiving. He's not really lying, but he's deceiving people by saying that. That was ridiculous. I watched that video there, and then Anthony was right enough. He said one of the quotes was, he said, "Oh, we can see some people in the water, and we need to find out their height, and we need to find out how old they are." And I was like, "What's their age got to do with?" To do with the curvature or anything like that. He sort of adds in things like that just to, make it sound more complicated and lead you off on a path to take you away from the whole point of,
Well, essentially,
this
they would have to
controversy.
They would have to be giants.
Sorry, Aunt Ranty.
They would have to be giants splashing around in the water for it to make any kind of sense. It would have to be, what, 100-foot giants. And there we
Well,
have
I tell
baby
you,
giants.
see if he wanted them to be 100-foot giants, he would have brought out the mathematics for it, because that's the type of character he is. He's just a deceiver. That's all, and he is a I would. He's a low life man.
Yeah.
And I don't want.
Though it's like when they just use tactics, they use rhetoric in order to, they don't exactly technically lie, but they kind of weasel around the points, avoid the important questions, and create all these misleading obfuscations of the actual important crux of the argument at hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, Johnny's put something in. Johnny McCloskey, another Muppet show in the making. Sorry, Johnny, you missed all the proof. You missed it. Maybe you should watch it back and then you can shut your mouth.
Yeah, I even seen comments on the video that you made, Nathan, about, it's. I can't believe it's just getting more and more ridiculous. Did you see that? That was a flat Earth versus what do you call it? Oh, flat Earth versus physicists.
Yes, I did see that. Yes and no.
Right,
but go on, you make your point first.
If you notice the age of these young dudes and the answers they were given to it, they were just way out their depth. But I just find it funny that these young dudes are the only ones that are stepping up to the plate for a debate, and it's not like, people that are teaching it, that kind of thing, and that one of the answers they gave about this graduating vacuum, they just couldn't grasp the concept that, a vacuum has to be contained, or the atmosphere, there has to be a separation or some kind of barrier. And I can't believe that I don't know how does that, I mean, they must be, they must be totally sort of heavily indoctrinated because it just doesn't make sense. Because if I couldn't imagine myself saying that or giving that as a description of how the atmosphere, maybe before I discovered the Earth was flat, or the theoretical science is just what it says, it's just theoretical, it's not even real. I would have believed that before, and I would have probably went about telling people that's how, I would have probably gave the same answers. But, well, it's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous.
Well, the challenge was laid down by John to demonstrate a non-physical container.
Yeah, well, you can't, can you? It's impossible. I mean, it really is. So therefore, but he did make a good point there about it is actually, I mean, science doesn't actually say it's a vacuum, right? That's for mainstream. That's for the, the dum-dums like us, the people that don't really or the people that don't, well, not like us, but I mean, like the mainstream. That's the kind of answer. Nobody really thinks about it. Nobody's, okay, that's fair enough, and they kind of move on, but they don't really.
It's work. Work to think about it. Right? Takes a lot of effort. Takes a lot of energy for most people. So they don't have even a foothold on these subjects or questions, and it doesn't change much about their day-to-day affairs to know anything about it. Doesn't affect they don't, it doesn't affect their immediate existence very much to understand these arguments.
Yeah, and the answers these guys were given, it was like childlike answers, man. It's like there's no way that you get to a certain, once you start looking at the actual physics and atmosphere and refraction, diffraction. I mean, it just gets, it just ends up like these are a big long line of excuses. Because that's all it is, it's just excuses. They've got an answer for absolutely everything. And they've got about 100 different models or ellipsoids models of the so-called sphere. So they can kind of pick and choose. They pick and choose. Oh, right, we're talking about refraction today, so we'll forget about, well, whatever. You know,
forget about the
they'll
geometric
forget
sphere.
to add in the variables or the independent variables
7/6R.
or whatever, right?
Yeah,
and they'll
7/6R.
kind of concentrate. Sorry?
7/6R. This is what Charles wanted to distance himself from.
Yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous. Why would you have to assume that the ball was bigger just to account for refraction? I mean, that would say, well, if that's a constant, right? If that's a constant, but weather, refraction, all that, it's not constant. There's that many variables to do with seeing things and that. They can't say 7/6R and say that's it. If you know what I mean. They you know, because of the refraction, they can't, because then that's a constant. And we all know that, you know, look, I mean, Ranty's been there. I mean, look at the amount of people that have done photographs on different days and got different results.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I mean, it's absolutely impossible just to add in a certain precise mathematical equation into something that's chaos. You know, weather's chaotic, atmosphere's chaotic. It's never standing still. It's forever changing. So you can't put a 1 + 1 = 3 to that. You know what I mean? It's like, it's ridiculous.
It's a constant begging the
It's
question
like fairy
fallacy.
stories.
That's what it is.
And it just happens to constantly always appear to be flat by coincidence or something, right? It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, and those physicists the other day, that was a belly laugher. It's a stone cold second law thermodynamics violation. You know, that's all you have. That's all you have to say. It's over. It was a joke.
Can you give that a bit
to
more
be quite
context
honest with you,
for people who
on
haven't
both
watched?
sides.
Can you explain what you're talking about, just for those who don't know what you're talking about?
What's that? Are you talking to me?
Yes, please. Because you're saying it's a second law of thermodynamics violation without context. People may not know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, you can't have a vacuum attached to a non-vacuum. It will always tend towards equilibrium from high pressure to low pressure. So you can have 760 torr on the Earth and be surrounded in their fairy tale story by 10 to the -17th torr. It's like having a tire pressure without the tire. So it's beyond preposterous. And
I'd like to add to that even if, you know, even according to their own theory, the gradient, if there is a non-physical container, i.e. the bending of space-time, gravitation, that shouldn't the gradient of the atmosphere follow the inverse square law, which it doesn't. So it's not matching the so-called gravitational gradient, the, you know, supposed gravitational gradient anyway. So the theory doesn't even have the internal logic of the theory isn't even consistent with itself.
well, gradients don't exist in perpetuity.
Right. No, I'm just saying though that even like they're kind of like, you know, average gradient doesn't follow the inverse square law, which if there was a non-physical container like space-time bending, which is their mechanical explanation of gravity, then that would, you know, the atmosphere would,
Yeah.
you'd expect would follow the gradient of gravity, right?
Yeah, but gravity.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying I
The
agree with
spectrum
gravity.
of
What I'm pointing-
gravitational
wait.
pull.
Let me just finish my point. What I'm pointing out is that their logic isn't even self-consistent with itself, right? Like I'm notwithstanding the fact that there's no evidence for this gravitational bending of space-time. I mean, that aside, even if we accept their fallacious premises of their argument is still not even consistent internally.
Well, it's incomplete. That's the whole thing about it. And they
No, it's
constantly
inconsistent.
try to fill it up with new ideas, new concepts to make it work. They can't really get it to work.
No, it contradicts itself. It's not even a matter of it's incomplete. It contradicts its own premises. That's the point, right? Like, so if
Yeah,
we
but
accept the premises,
what makes it
even if we accept their premises, it still contradicts itself.
Yeah,
like-
yeah, but
Even if you accept it, it doesn't work. You know,
I know, but that's what I meant that it's incomplete. It
That's
just
the thing with,
seems to explain
that's the
things,
thing
but
with
when
lies.
you look at it further, then it's incomplete. It's basically
What you're describing, Arwen, is the heliocentric smear of bullshit. And essentially, with any lie, the bigger the lie gets, the more layers it has, the weaker it becomes, and the easier it is to pick the lie apart. And those
Yep.
inconsistencies,
Yep.
that's exactly what we're talking about here. When you have a lie, you have inconsistencies. And that's exactly what we see with the heliocentric deception.
But there's huge, enormous gaping inconsistencies. Like, we're not talking about little stuff. Like, they've succeeded in getting people to focus on what they perceive to be their big triumphs of consistency. But these inconsistencies make up the majority of the cases, actually, when you look at it from a critical point of view.
I don't think it's just
Yeah, well-
inconsistency. It's stone cold contradictions. There's paradoxes everywhere.
Well, that's what I mean.
I mean, it's like
Put together
that
theories, but
gradient.
it's not.
Inconsistency is
the great-
contradiction of the logic.
Yeah, but the gradient, as they say, just what you're saying there, Numi, is the grade. It goes to the gradient. It gets lower and lower and lower, and then it just goes to nothing. The gradient stops. You know what I mean? It's like it stops, but that doesn't. Logically, that doesn't.
No, but even if that
if
could,
they keep a
even
constant
if that
gradient,
could
if you keep a
work,
constant gradient, it'll
even
go
if that
for
could
infinity.
work, then gas distribution pressure does not conform to that.
Right.
So the lower the gravity spectrum becomes, then the stronger the actual pull from the vacuum becomes. So it could
It's not a
never
vacuum,
last.
Harvey.
It
Listen,
can never stabilize.
Yeah,
This is the thing. Space is not a vacuum, right? It's not in science. They don't describe it as a vacuum in science. They say it's a lower pressure system. So it's a lower pressure. It's not a vacuum. It's not a complete vacuum.
No,
You know what
it's
I'm saying?
not
It's like
perfect
it's a
vacuum,
lower.
but it is so extremely low that you can definitely consider it a vacuum because it's not filled up.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
even
It
it
doesn't
doesn't matter
matter
which
that
side.
it's not a perfect vacuum.
It doesn't matter which side of the argument you want to argue, the academic side or the general understanding side. Both have a problem, and it comes back to Coriolis, which is what was being, poured over about 3 or 4 days ago. Which is to say that now you've got people like Charles that say, "Oh no, the Earth turning beneath the atmosphere doesn't affect a gun," while others will claim that it does. That the Coriolis effect is a thing on Earth, and you have 2 independent reference frames. Now we don't. But that necessity for a gradient going up and getting ever and ever thinner, if it's being pulled along with the Earth, then, it still doesn't make any sense. So they're screwed either way in that regard, as far as I can tell.
Well, most don't even know what the Coriolis effect is.
Well, they can debunk that. I mean, there's what do you call it? That program Null School. It debunks it, right? Because if you go up higher and higher up in the atmosphere, you can see in the northern hemisphere there's winds are rotating anti-clockwise and they're rotating clockwise. So that stuff about saying there's Coriolis goes storms rotate in one way or wind systems rotate in a vortex one way, and then that's a load of crap. If you go, as I say, if you go to that Null School and just go up the gradients or the heights, the atmospheric pressure, and you'll get to a point there when you can look and you'll see winds and hurricanes or whatever in the northern hemisphere rotating left, anti-clockwise, clockwise. You go to the south, it's the same. There is not such a thing as a that what they describe or they give an example, or storms in the north go one way and storms go in the south the other way. It's a load of crap.
That's not the Coriolis effect. A Coriolis effect is apparent deflections. Clouds don't apparently deflect. Nothing does. So
No, I mean winds. I'm talking about the direction of the wind there, John. As I say, they talk about the winds, and as I say, if you go up, if you got that Null School and look at the winds, I mean, there's winds up there that apparently it's going like 400 or 500 kilometers an hour, or 300 miles an hour, or 350 miles an hour up there, and they're going in different directions. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, it depends on how high you go up too. So because you got the tropopause, you got different parts of the atmosphere that the winds are calmer than they are on the surface. So you have to be specific in what you're talking about.
All right. Well, there's a thing called the polar. I think it's a polar vortex or something like that. And what it does is, right out on the outside of our atmosphere, actually, I think it's during the summer, it's at the South Pole. During the winter, it's at the North Pole. But I mean, it's traveling around at 400 odd kilometers an hour, man. You know what I mean? Just right on the edge of the atmosphere. So I just wondered what would be driving that. And I'm not buying, hot air going up and cold air going down, and that causes. I don't feel as if I can buy that story anymore. I think they just hide. I think they're hiding. I think they're hiding actually what's happening there, because of the fact is, if people actually knew that, you get people like us thinking, oh, well, that means that, and that, or you understand, we'd understand it a lot more better and realise that they're not telling us what space is. And I think that's what they're hiding. You know, we know the Earth's flat, but I think that's just an excuse to steal money off the public.
I don't think people are appreciating this. Hey, Nathan, share my screen for a second.
Sure.
Tell me when you can see this.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, you see this little dot right here? Let's say this is the Earth. What they're saying here is that there's 760 torr of pressure on this little dot, and then all around here is 10 to the negative 17th torr. This is preposterous, right? This is a tire. You have tire pressure without the tire, essentially, but exponential magnitudes more. I mean, this is just, I don't even know what to say to this. This is mind-numbing absurdity. I don't think that does it justice. All right, I'm good.
Yeah, but they say it with a straight face.
Completely preposterous idea. Makes no sense at all. Most idiotic thing that they've ever had us believe. You know, we should be embarrassed, as you know, the human race should be embarrassed that we ever even entertained such a ridiculous fantasy. It's completely insane.
I agree.
What's
But it's
Tor?
not.
Sorry to interrupt. What's Tor?
It's a measurement of air pressure.
TOR.
TOR, yeah.
TORR.
Or TORR.
Yeah, and I think that I don't think we should have such a go at ourselves for buying into this or being embarrassed about it, because you've got to remember we've been blasted, or everybody, the whole population of the world, or in the West anyway, with education, we've been indoctrinated to believe it. So, you know, we have to understand that, you know, I mean, these guys are experts in changing people's opinions and beliefs, or, you know,
Well,
not
at least
brainwashing.
we got away from it, right? I'm just saying that, you know, yeah, we don't really have to be embarrassed because we're all kind of in it together and we all got fooled together. So none of us individually look too bad. But really, it's just when we've been sold a bill of goods that, you know, when intelligent people apply their critical thinking skills and discernment to this, it should be obvious that, yeah, you're not going to be able to have a giant negative, whatever it is, Tor vacuum next to a, you know, basically almost an infinitesimally tiny amount of gas held there by a supposedly extremely weak pseudo force or whatever they're calling it, right? But it doesn't even obey the laws of the said force that's even holding it there. It doesn't make any sense. It's just, there's actually not one thing about it that is believable. There's not even a single aspect of it that makes any kind of sense at all. It's just complete crap, total crap.
And Ali, they're not experts at convincing people. They're expert at technobabble.
Yeah, but it's just
they sound very intelligent. It sounds kind of logical, but they make it very complex. They sound very intelligent. They sound very self-confident. When they do their technobabble, and people just fall for it. They just trust them.
It's a groupthink phenomenon. You know, it's a religion. It's a religion. What can you say? It's held together by social pressures and people's trying to preserve their credibility in a complex social situation.
It's a technobabble religion.
Yeah, but that's the thing with this. So that just shows how powerful how powerful their technique is in getting us to believe this. It's a very, that's why, I just forgive everybody, unless they start being dishonest like that flat earth math and all the other people, the physicists, deGrasse Tyson, all these people, it just shows how deceitful they are actually being, because look, we are not physicists or experts in much. John's about the only one here that's got a good grasp of things, because he's been kind of looking into the longest kind of thing. So they know that they can tell us anything, and we've worked it out. We now, when we look into it now, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like what you said there, Nummy. It's incredible.
Yeah, but you don't need to be an expert physicist. You just need intro to junior high physics to defeat most of this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
exactly.
Well, you don't even need that. I mean, I think that if you took a guy who lived in the jungles of Africa in a tribe, and you showed him what a vacuum's about, and then tried to explain this, you just understand that wouldn't work. You know what I mean? You don't even need to be indoctrinated with any particular, it just obviously doesn't work.
Yeah, on some of the easier topics, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we are indoctrinated. That's the problem. TV is poison.
Yep. It's not only indoctrination.
It's been full on since childhood.
It's not only indoctrination, though. It's indoctrination and then everyone's kept busy, right? You're busy with your activities of daily life that you got to make sure. If you got a family, they put those extra pressures on you. You ain't got time to look at this stuff.
Yeah. And there's
or if you're smarter, you're kept busy with the calculations. Just compartmentalize it.
No, and shaming for asking.
Then you don't have the oversight. You just work on your part of the formula.
No, if you're shamed for questioning the priesthood, right? It's that if you question these things, it's how dare you? You're not a scientist. You're not a physicist. You haven't been indoctrinated to the priesthood doctor caste level, right? So, and
even if you are within them, then peer pressure tells you to stop doing that.
Well, peer pressure is a form of shaming. That's what I'm saying.
Just for a bit of clarity to the audience. Hi, Mark. How you doing? Hold on. Hello, Mark. Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Mark? Get rid of you before you get rid of my entire panel then. Yeah, just for clarity for the audience, there might be a whole bunch of newbies watching this that have no idea what we're talking about. And we're talking about the education system, in terms of its compartmentalization. So I just want to make sure everyone's got a bit of clarity, because there might be people watching this that go, what are you talking about, the priesthood? And we're drawing analogies between questioning your vicar and questioning science. In quotes, not the real science, the scientism science. So questioning the priest would be akin to questioning Neil deGrasse Tyson and what he states on TV, and having a differing opinion. Anyway,
it's more subtle too. They teach you in the education system here in the United States. I can only speak to that. They teach you what to think, not how to think. That's a really big problem.
Memorizing is stimulated. Critical thinking is discouraged.
Well, and they make you believe that what you're doing is thinking, but they've made thinking seem like it's just some kind of regurgitative process. People don't even know what it is to think.
Reciting.
They think they're thinking, but they don't even know what thinking is.
Well, it's like when we and just another thing for people that are listening and not sure about why we keep saying the priesthood. Well, if you understand that's where the root of this astronomy and all came in. It was priests. It was the priests that look after at this. But if you believe in the history, thousands of years ago, it was the people that watched the stars and discovered whatever, and then they decide. So it was kind of a priesthood. I've got nothing against physics or science or anything like that, but when it comes into theoretical science and you sell me a theory, you better make sure it's going to conform to actually the truth, not what I was taught.
Yeah, but they're not telling you. They're not teaching. See, this theory word, They're not teaching you theories. Scientific theories go through the scientific method. They're validated hypotheses. So when they say theories or theoretical, what they actually mean is speculations and imaginings.
Yeah.
You got to get these terms right. When they say theories, you say, well, is that a scientific theory? And they say yes. And you say, okay, let's start. Observe a phenomenon.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's how you deal with that.
they've got us believing that rampant speculation is theory or theorizing, right?
But where'd you
Yeah, it's
where'd you
more
get where'd you get
concept-
such
it's more
bold
conceptual.
statements about science from, John? We got Negator X, who I've been chatting recently with, and he seemed to think you can just observe something. So why would you get this idea that it has to be a phenomenon that you're observing?
Say that one more time. I missed what you said. Go
Sure.
ahead.
So we've got Negator X, and I've been chatting with him
Oh,
recently,
goodness.
explaining that step 1 of the scientific method, observe a phenomenon, and he says, no. Here's my observation, mere observation. That will do.
That's an observation with a just so story. Anyone can do that.
But no, what I'm
Yeah.
asking is, where do you get this definition from? Why would you say that science dictates that it must be a phenomenon rather than just a mere observation?
But science says, well, the scientific method originated where? Somewhere around 1500. You have to observe something, a phenomenon, to ask a question, right?
Oh, by the way, I looked that up.
that's
No,
where it
it's
starts,
actually
Matthew.
much earlier. It's much earlier that the classical scientific method was
Right. It
invented.
was codified somewhere in the 1600s.
Now it was actually a little bit later. It was probably worked upon. It was adopted as the basis for the science community that was then arising during the Renaissance.
Yeah, well,
But
it's
the
just
original
common sense.
scientific method was much older,
That's fine.
like 800 BC or something.
Verify this history, anyways. I mean,
Yeah, it doesn't matter anyway. It's common sense.
Yeah. The scientific method has validity that can be shown, that is obvious and can be demonstrated. So it's it doesn't
Their
matter where it
observations.
originated or where it doesn't matter who came up with it. It's like it's totally.
Yeah, it's a genetic fallacy then.
It's just a total aside. It's not really important to the conversation
Exactly. Yep.
today.
Well, what they actually do is if they look out into space or whatever, they observe, right, and then they observe that. Then, as John says, they have their theory, but now they've got to go and test that theory.
No,
so what
they don't
do
have a
is-
theory. No, they make an
well,
observation, and then
right, so
they
they
give
make the
you.
observation, right? They
and-
make the
and-
observation, and now they've got to they have to decide, right? What do I think that is? They'll
Yeah,
observe it to
that's
say, right,
a
I have
just
an
so
idea.
story.
But what they'll do, yeah, I know exactly. But what they do then is then they take their observation and then they bring it down into here or into a laboratory or whatever, or put it onto a computer or type it in. But then what they do is
they do that. But
yeah, right,
that's
but listen, let me finish. All
right. Good.
But then what they do is then what they do is they pick and choose what the variables like. So they'll take the phenomenon. They say, oh, that star is twinkling. They'll go, right, let's bring that down here and try to make something twinkling in this. But they'll miss out, like, it's where it is, if there's a star nearby that's causing gravity, blah blah. They'll just select that certain bit, take it there, and then that's where they'll get their theory. But they can't test the gravitational force around there or whatever, so they miss out. They pick and choose what they use for their theories. They're not actually taking
That's not a
everything.
theory.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but then they call it a theory. This is the thing. You know what I mean? And it's not even relevant because they're measuring something on Earth that is happening, whatever they want to say, 5 light years away or 10 light years away.
A prime example of that is like LIGO, right? Like where you're talking
that's
about.
ridiculous.
It's just it's just blatant pseudoscience being sold as some kind of science, but it's right on its face. It's completely pseudoscientific. Like they have no substantiation of any of the observed phenomenon at all.
Did you hear that? Did you actually hear that? You guys actually heard? Remember when they just measured not black holes? It was I don't know, two stars colliding or something.
Yeah.
They got pulled in, they blew
The
up,
black
right?
holes colliding.
I've actually, no, it wasn't a black hole. They weren't black holes. It was another thing they measured.
Oh, not
Have you
liquid.
actually heard that? You should type that in and hear. You should actually hear what that sounds like, that noise that they picked up. It
Yeah.
is ridiculous, man.
But you know what's funny is that there's no Hubble telescope at all. And
Just before you get back into the
all
Hubble,
this,
I don't
like-
want the audience to miss this, so I'm going to do a very quick link. So hold that thought for a moment, Numi, on the Hubble telescope. But yeah, hope you're all enjoying the debate thus far. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside the show while it's live, and a link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Massive thanks to all who've done so already. Sharing the show increases the live audience, of course, and this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. As I say, there is approximately an hour left on this live stream.
Is Anthony almost ready with
Mark
his
Taylor just joined. We got some competition.
Good to have you, Mark. I did spot you while I was doing my link. Good to have you.
Yeah, what's up, Nathan?
Sky, moon, stars, usual stuff.
I just heard all you intellectual giants on the panel, so I thought I'd come and join you.
Oh, wonderful. What do you have to say for yourself, Mark?
I don't know, it's lots really.
Any proof of the curvature?
Apart from John, can you any of you name any experiments you've done, science experiments to do with physics?
No, I'm not a scientist. I'm a YouTuber. I make videos. Do you do scientific experiments, Mark?
I haven't got the answer from the rest of the people yet.
Sorry, I'm just asking you the same question.
Have you done any experiments to do with physics?
I just said no. No, I'm a YouTuber. I'm just asking you the same question back now. So I've answered you no. What's your answer? Have you done any scientific experiments, Mark?
What? So you're the panel now, are you?
Sorry, are you saying I can't ask you a question?
Well, no, but I'm asking the panel questions. I'm willing to answer questions, but I'm asking the panel. If you're not going to let me ask questions, then what's the point of even having a debate?
Well, I'm answering. Now I'm asking you for your answer, and then if anyone else wants to offer their answer, I'm sure they'll be willing.
No, because I don't believe that the physicists are telling me stuff that's wrong, see? But you do.
So is that a no, you haven't done any experiments, Mark?
No.
Okay.
I never claimed I have. I don't go on YouTube and tell people that the physicists are wrong and then claim I have some special knowledge that they don't. But you apparently do. And
Well, we just demonstrate it and put it up for debate, Mark.
What makes you think you're better than scientists?
I see. Well, we put it up for debate, Mark.
Yeah, that's what I've come here for. So, Nami, can you tell me what experiments you've done, please? Science experiments? Physics?
Well, in my first year of university, when I took some biology, I did some experiments with comparing, I'm trying to remember what this was, but it was basically like experiments about how mold cultures propagate.
So nothing to do with the globe then, nothing to do with the sphere, nothing to do with
nothing to do with
physics.
the globe or the sphere, but we did learn how to apply the scientific method.
Right, but you haven't done it, have you? You haven't applied the scientific method because you just admitted you haven't done no experiments.
No, I've applied the scientific method where it's possible to do
What,
so.
to other people?
You asked if I'd done an experiment. I'm being honest with you and telling you yes.
Yeah, I know. You just admitted that you haven't done no experiments since university.
Well, what experiment are you talking about that I could do?
Well, any experiment.
Okay,
Any
so
experiment.
what experiment could I do to test the shape
Well,
of...
you could build a vacuum chamber and test gravity.
Yeah, but I can just observe other people's experiments, right?
So you just observe other people's?
Yeah. I can observe other experiments
So you observe other people's experiments, and when they don't agree with you, you say that's wrong, but you've got no credentials or no ability to say that, have you really?
No, I do have credentials and ability to say that.
So why don't you falsify gravity then? If you say gravity's fake, like all you flat earthers do,
there's nothing to falsify.
Well,
Hold on. No, that's a fair point, Mark.
Fall at 9.8 meters per second.
Mark,
No,
that's
that's
fair enough
true.
point. Hold on a
It's the
second.
general
Hold on,
effect- no.
don't all pounce
Mark,
on him.
general-
Hold
no,
on, hold
general-
on, Nummy. Right, so Mark feels that experiments apply, and he feels that gravity is an observed phenomenon. Is that correct, Mark?
Yes.
Excellent. Is John still on the panel? Can you bring up your Word document? Let's get this down on paper.
Get what down on paper?
Excellent. Check it out. Look, we're all lined up ready for you, Mark.
Oh, we're still waiting for Timmy, but we could just go on from that one. All right, observe phenomenon. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
all right, John. Get up your paper on theories. I like that bit that you had the other day. I quite like that bit. The scientific theories. Can you get that out for me, please?
No, let's not change the subject just yet. We'll get to that here in a second.
It's still to do with it's the theory of gravity, isn't it? So if you can get the scientific theory, what it means, and your little presentation you did the other day on the scientific theory, if you could do that, then that'll lead into the gravity.
This
Well,
is your
that'll lead into
presentation,
it.
Mark. This is
Yeah.
you. You're on the spot, Mark. You're the one who's brought up gravity, my friend. So let's see your observed phenomenon. What exactly are we observing?
I'm not going into them silly little games, Nathan. I'm not
This
a
is science,
scientist.
Mark. This is
I'm not a
science.
scientist.
Don't bring it up.
Oh, Mark,
All right,
are
then,
we?
Nathan, can you
Oh,
show
this
me-
is
can you
going to
show
be
me
pretty
anywhere-
sad. You've been on the panel about 5 minutes. Do we already get to the point where we can call you a literal science denier? This is pretty sad, Mark. The rest of the globe has lasted much
A
longer
literal
than
science denier.
you. Well, this is science. Look on screen, my friend. This is science.
How am
What
I
we're
a literal
doing.
science denier,
You said
Nathan?
gravity. Now let's science. You ready? Let's go.
Let's go. Right. Show me anywhere that the scientific method is described the way you describe it, Nathan.
No, that's a crappy old technique that's been well and truly worn out by the other Globers who preceded you, I'm afraid, Mark. Sad that this may sound. You're not going to get to dissect and rearrange what the scientific method is, my friend. That's not
So
going to
you're
happen
a
here.
Well, show me
All
it then.
we
If
need
it's-
to
if
know,
it's-
don't need to interrupt. No need to interrupt. All we need to know from you is what your
If it-
observed
if
phenomena
if
is.
it's
That's
what you
step
say it is,
one.
Nathan, you should be
Don't
easy-
interrupt, Mark. We just need to know. Very simple, very calm. Step one. This is science. Let's do it together. We can
Well, show
have
it
fun
to
with
me then.
this.
Show it to
Science
me.
can
I'm
be
not going to
fun.
believe what you
Hey,
tell me.
Let John show it.
me the
Hey,
scientific method.
Mark, shut up. Let
It's
John
on-
show it. Hey, why don't you
No,
show
not
it?
from John. Not from John.
Shut up, Mark.
From other sources.
shut up.
From other sources.
Shut
Shouldn't
up.
be hard for you to do, should it?
Do you know where
up.
Rochester is, Mark? Just calm down. Do you know where Rochester is?
Can you
Well, just
share-
show. Wait, so you
Hold
can't
on,
show
let's
me
just
then.
get an
I've got-
answer
this
from
is
Mark.
someone called John.
Mark,
There's-
take a
There's
breath.
proof-
You
there's
seem
proof he's
very
got no
triggered,
credentials in
Mark.
science.
You seem
There's
very
proof he's
triggered,
got no
Mark. Try to
credentials
calm
at all.
down. Try to
So-
calm down. Take a breath.
I'm calm, Nathan. I'm calm.
Do you
as
know
anything.
where Rochester is, Mark?
Well, it depends. Rochester in Kent.
Yep,
Or Rochester in Kent.
Rochester, yeah. Do you know where Rochester is?
What, in Kent?
You've asked me that.
Think
I've said
that-
yes. Do you have a stutter?
Well, there's a Rochester in the USSR as well.
Rochester,
So
New
what
York.
Rochester would we be talking about?
No, he's talking about Rochester, New York, though.
Oh, is he? My bad. That was going to be a crap example.
That's
now,
true, right?
now
I
the
think that's-
now the mood has lightened,
Take
Mark.
that size 11 out of your mouth.
Now the mood has lightened with my slight humility, which I will take with good grace.
Slight
Right?
humility. You haven't
Do
got
you
that humility,
appreciate
Nathan.
that there
What
is
are you
a
talking about?
place that there is a
You
place
try and
within?
belittle people when you're the
Calm
person
down,
who's
Mark.
belittling
I know you're very triggered. Just try
Well,
to
just
take
so
a
you
breath.
can know for your small-
Try
well,
to
for
take a
your
breath.
small-
You've asked
So
for
let's look
someone.
at the scientific method.
You've asked for someone other
Well, I'm
than
asking you to show
John.
me of other sources
Mark,
apart from
try
John.
to calm
if
down.
You're only showing me John, then that's not really
We're not
fair,
showing
really, is it?
John. We're showing you University of Rochester.
Well,
Right.
Google it. Google it.
Yeah,
and
this
show
isn't
me
In
the
me.
front of you,
scientific
Mark.
method that fits
Try
John's
to calm
method.
down.
That's
Take a
not
John
deep
don't believe
breath.
that is a scientific method.
He's
We're
showing
looking at
you,
a
Mark.
university that describes, that teaches, has a science program and is explaining.
So is your name John then?
This guy's a troll. Just boots his.
No, it's
Well,
all right.
he's
We'll take
drunk.
him. We'll take
He's
this
a
dumbass through it very
believer.
slowly.
You have
His
no-
objection.
no, you have no-
I'll just clarify Mark's objection for the audience. Mark's objection is that the scientific method that we are using has come from John. Now we are showing him that it's come from the University of Rochester, and he's talking over
You're
it.
showing me a page with John's writing all over it. Showing me something on Google, or showing me a definition of a scientific method.
Okay, there's a link
Or
there,
show me
John. Do
two
you
or
want to just
three
click it for him?
definitions of the scientific method.
There's only one scientific method. That's why it's method, not methods. Method. There it is.
Oh,
There's
so a
science
definition,
denier.
method,
Just got
definition,
another science
methods.
denier on the panel.
But it's not exactly correct, John. There is a
No, it is
classical-
correct.
No, there is an original classical scientific
There
method,
is the
and there's
scientific.
other approaches.
There is not.
You take the original approach.
There is
It
not.
the most
There's
correct
only one method.
You can't even agree amongst yourselves.
But that's because Arwen has oppositional defiance disorder.
No, I actually looked it up.
Yeah, he's got you
Yeah,
there.
no, oppositional defiance disorder makes me
Let's not get
actually want to
sidetracked.
seek out
Hold
the
on,
doctor,
Arwen.
but I
For the
didn't
love
look
of
it
God,
up.
Arwen. Right, we're trying to show Mark that the scientific method is what we will eventually, if he obfuscates long enough, what we have to apply to his gravity claim. Hopefully, he'll understand that we're not making up a scientific method. There is a scientific method. Now we're hoping to apply it to gravity. So, Mark,
Okay, and
step
you're
one.
accusing John that's not. You're saying that that's not really from the University of Rochester, the page he's.
No, I'm saying I don't recognise his definition of the scientific method.
Okay, well
I'm
here.
not saying that he's living off
It's
the
all right.
Rochester,
No.
I'm saying,
It's all
I
good.
do
Nummy,
not
at this
recognise
point,
his
we have got a literal science denier on the panel.
Well,
Another,
I'm just saying, here's
yet
a link to
another
the-
globe head science denier,
Well, look,
Mark.
you should, I should
Pathetic.
be at home then, shouldn't I? Because you're all literal science deniers.
Yeah, you're a science denier. Sad.
Well,
Sad.
so are you, Nathan. So you should welcome me with open arms.
Not
then.
at all, my friend. Not at all.
What? So you're not a science denier then?
No, I'm a pseudo-science denier.
Oh, what? So you admit gravity's real then?
Here we go. Back on track. Thank you, Mark. Excellent
Well,
segue.
that fits the
Gravity.
scientific method.
So
You-
what
it's the
is...
scientific-
Mark, try to close your mouth, open your ears, and listen. What is your observed phenomena?
John, it's a scientific theory based on facts.
What facts?
I'm asking John. Your name's not John. I mean, I'll talk to you in a minute if you can just
My
bear
name-
with me.
I'll talk to you in a minute. That's a good one. A scientific theory is a hypothesis or a group of hypotheses that have been confirmed by experiment.
Right? Can you name a theory then, a scientific theory that you believe that falls onto that criteria, John?
Did I believe? I don't believe in scientific theories because they're
All right,
validated.
all right. Can you point me to a scientific theory that you feel has been validated under the scientific method quoted by you?
Germ theory.
Germ theory, right? So what about all the other theories?
Really?
What about evolution theory? No, they don't.
That's
believe
not
that,
a scientific theory.
no. Right. What about gravity?
That's not a scientific theory either.
Right. So the theories you like, you accept. But the
No,
theories you
that's
don't
not a
like,
scientific
you just
theory.
Ignore.
We're going to
Well,
show
it
it right
because
now.
It is because it
Mark,
falls
did you...
under the
Mark, let me just
category of-
interrupt. So John gave you a definition, but you talked all over it. He said that a scientific theory is backed by
I
experiment.
just read it to you.
Backed by
Yeah, there's been
experiment.
loads of experiments done on the gravity, Nathan.
Excellent. We're at
Really?
experimental stage,
Sure.
Mark. So tell us.
Which
Tell us
Tell you
It's
what.
gonna be the same old,
what your
same old.
experiment is. Maybe start with your hypothesis.
I'm waiting for John to put up the scientific theory so we can all clarify what
Scientific theory?
I
means.
just
What are you
told you
talking
what it
about?
was.
Well, no, can you get it up on the screen? You know, little presentation.
Scientific
no, if you
theories?
can share it for the rest of the retards in the
I just-
audience.
I just told you what it was. Why do I need to show
Well,
it?
can you? Well, why not? You want to show everything else on the screen? Why won't you show that?
Show everything else. I didn't
Well,
show
yeah,
any.
you've got your screen up now with your little
Yeah,
bullet
scientific
points and
methods
your-
on it. We're
I didn't
waiting
show
for
any
your
feedback.
observed phenomena when it comes to gravity, Mark.
So can you show your scientific theory definition, please? Because I like that presentation the other day, John. If you could do that for us, please. Give me a shout when you're ready.
What are you talking about? We're waiting for you, who has claimed gravity is something,
you
to
just
take
made
us
a claim,
through.
dude. What
Oh,
about-
so John's not doing a presentation now.
No,
then, I
you've
thought
come
he was
along and
doing a
asserted
presentation.
this word called
Presentation, He was
gravity.
showing you the scientific method.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, and I'm asking him to show me the scientific theory.
No,
The
you
one he
made
done
a
the other
claim
day.
now. No, we
So
want
you denying you've got a presentation with the scientific
I'm
theory.
calling you an outright science denier, Mark. It's pretty sad that we've got to this stage so quickly with you, but we're just on to
Pretty sad.
obfuscation
What,
now.
John won't,
All
John
you're
won't
doing
present
now
his
is
evidence of the
obfuscating
scientific
because
theory.
you...
Yeah, it's
No,
pretty sad, really.
your evidence of gravity.
Considering he says that he's he's supposed
No,
to be involved
no,
in
Wait a
science.
second. No, wait a second. Wait a second. Let's make a deal. If I show you what I just told you, will you then start with the natural phenomena observed with gravity?
Well, no, I want you to show me
Oh, then no deal.
the definition
No
of
deal.
scientific theory. John.
No deal, science denier. No
What, this
deal.
clowning.
This guy's such a clown.
Just a
No,
clown.
the clown.
Randy's
Another
talking
pretender
to you,
clown.
bro. I don't
Science
know why he's
denier and
calling you a
globehead
clown.
idiot.
I'm talking
I
to
mean-
you, Taylor.
I mean, I know you're a bit stupid, Mummy, but I didn't
Filthy
realise
little
he was
rat.
calling you a clown.
Hey, wicked,
filthy
right on cue, onto the ad homs from the science denying globehead retard.
Why
Love
don't you
it.
call me again? In the night. Why don't you ring me?
Ooh, Randy.
Hmm?
So can I kick him
You
now,
little
Nathan?
stalking little homo.
Yeah, he's got nothing to offer. It's just a science denier, like all
Okay.
of them.
Bye.
just with less to offer in terms of intellect.
Can I ask you a question there, Mark? Would that be okay?
Right.
Mark?
So
you
I
still there?
actually looked up. Yeah, I kicked him.
Okay.
He
Just
was
on to ad
just going
homs.
to
There's no
yell
point in
over
being here if
people.
he's just going to ad hom the crap out of us after losing an argument.
So I kind of I'm gonna compete here for a moment. I did look it up on Wikipedia. Now that on its own is not, of course, a very reliable source, but the scientific
What are you
method
doing?
described within Wikipedia is
Oh,
based according to
goodness.
what it says on the Oxford Dictionary. So I take it that you find the Oxford University is kind of reliable, right? John is also reliable.
I'm
Or would
sorry.
you
What are you
disagree?
What are you talking about? What's up?
I'm talking about the scientific method based on the Oxford Dictionary. Because it describes roughly the same system as you do, only it basically words things slightly different and seems to be describing things a little bit more flexible. Yeah. So
Do you know what?
you can. I'm presenting
Do you
it
know what'd
right
be a
now.
good
and
thing?
You can see it.
Do you know what would be a good thing to ask? Is ask them their definition. That's what I wanted to ask Mark before he went off. I was going to ask him, well, what is
I
your
don't think
definition?
he has the intelligence to get into that kind
No,
of.
they're not
detail.
willing to.
No.
Willing to
Listen,
come
no
up with a
need to
definition.
say that. But the point was, as I was saying, we should be asking them what the
I'm here.
definition
This is unorthodox.
Hello. Good to have
So
you.
Melissa's back. Hey, Melissa.
All right, but we should be asking them what the scientific method is, not up on Wikipedia or anything like that. Ask the people that
No, but Wikipedia is just the first click, but it
yeah, but I'm
cites
saying get
the
the point
Oxford
is ask
Dictionary, and
them.
I think the Oxford
We should be
Dictionary should be
asking.
reliable.
Go,
Considering
Let's
well, go ahead.
ask them.
Go ahead. Let him read it. I can't see it, Arwen. It's too small, man.
But before, can we come back to this? Because we've now got an actual globe head on the panel who feels he has proof of the non-physical container that John had challenged somebody to come up with. So I'm well up for hearing what Unorthodox has got to say about this subject.
Unorthodox? You mean the guy who deleted his video when I commented on it?
That's the
Are
one.
we talking?
Yeah. Jeez.
No, yeah, I'm sorry that I'm honest, and if there's a mistake, I'd like to adjust it. My bad.
Well,
Should
well,
I try
why-
to be honest?
Well, why did you delete your whole video?
I didn't delete the whole video. I privated
Yeah,
it until
you
it got
did.
fixed. There was one error in the video, so
One
it
error?
adjusted. Like I said, I'm being honest. So I admit there's an error. and
One
it needs to be
error?
corrected.
You
I've
sure
got
about
the
one?
error if you want to go through it.
Yeah,
But,
oh yeah. No, I want you to put my post on. Let's look at my post and see how many one errors you had.
the independent and
The
dependent
error was
variables
making the
switch,
video.
but I don't think I'll be able to get through that because you guys will prevent me from doing that. So
No,
I'd like
no.
to.
So you
Oh,
can
it's
tell
all
the
right.
future.
We can get
Hold
there,
on a
but
second,
I
guys. Can I
guarantee
say hello to
Nathan
Billy?
won't-
Hello.
Guys,
Hold
guys,
on.
I bet you
Hold on. Can I
anything.
just
I
say
bet you
hello
my
to
bank
Billy,
account,
our new
Nathan will
guest?
prevent
Hold
me
on.
from
Hold on.
explaining.
Hold on. Hello, Billy. Can you hear us?
I'm holding.
Give Melissa his space to air this out. Let's not jump all over him. Hello?
I think
I'm
we're still
here.
here. We lost a couple of panel members because it took too long to say hello to that guest, so he's took out a few panel members, unfortunately. But I'll see if I can get a few of them back.
No, we're gonna let you air yourself out here. Nobody's gonna stop you.
I want to talk about a presentation that Quantum Eraser did about this fallacy that you can't have air pressure without a container. And I spoke with you about this yesterday at the end of the panel.
Yeah.
So in your presentation,
Fallacy.
yeah, in your presentation,
outta
it
here.
states that air pressure is defined as force over an area. That right there debunks your entire presentation.
No, it's
Force over an area. It's not a
What?
volumetric measurement.
What?
So the definition itself tells you that you're misunderstanding it.
Oh, really? Let's go to the definition then.
That's a chemistry definition. Do people do
It's a
chemistry?
chemistry
That
definition.
relates. That's from chemistry, right? That's what it said in your presentation. That relates air pressure to chemistry. People don't
It
do chemistry on the open
doesn't-
table. They don't
doesn't
do it on
matter.
dirt. They don't do it in the open air. People do
Chemistry
chemistry in containers.
definition.
Do people do chemistry in containers, or do they do it on the floor?
what
The
is that?
pressure of a gas is a
Do it.
force the gas exerts on the walls of its
The
container.
pressure of a force is force
Con-
per
Kinne-
meter squared. Force
Connect
per area squared.
kinetic molecular theory explanation of Boyle's gas law. Are you seeing this?
No,
Oh.
I'm not seeing anything. I just see a sunset.
So my screen sharing.
Yeah, yeah, you
Yeah,
are.
yeah,
Just
you are.
click on
Click on his.
locally.
Click on where it says John at the bottom there. You see where all of our squares where everyone's name.
Yeah, I see it.
Click on John's one, and then you're gonna see his screen.
Oh, you took out the part about force per areas. Oh, that's nice.
It's force on a unit area. The unit
Exactly.
area is the container.
No, a container is a volume.
Container right here.
The walls.
That's a chemistry reference. People do chemistry in containers, do they not?
John, I just want to tell you, I had this argument with this guy yesterday after the panel. You were there.
No, you didn't have an argument with me. You basically called me names. You didn't have a
No,
discussion.
I mean, I think you outed yourself as being not really an engineer like you claim to be, because no engineer would say something as stupid as what you're trying to argue right now. Never.
Oh, that's funny. I hear tons of them talk about it on a daily basis.
I know you don't. What you're
So I'm. This is. You're telling me I'm not what this is what science says.
He thinks the walls of the container has to be measured as a volume. That's his argument. His big argument is
That's nonsensical. It tells you right there. What's an area? Force on a unit area. Is an area a volume? An area is not a volume. Does a container have to have a top on it?
This is this guy's argument, and he claims to be an engineer.
A container
right there. It's
contains
right
what is
there.
enclosed. That is what
Area and
defines it
volume.
as a
How can you
container.
possibly
Otherwise, it's a
misconstrue,
volume.
4 to 5 words or 5 words if you put it like that.
Are you kidding me?
Force on a unit area. It's not force on a volume.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, we know that.
Your
Exactly.
argument is too stupid to even deal with. Actually, like you're just showing.
So you're telling me the definition isn't the definition?
No, the definition is the definition. So why?
Okay, so an area isn't a volume.
No.
No, an area is a volume,
right?
but a container contains. It's not a volume. Is not a container.
So why don't they present it as force on a volume, force per unit volume?
Because that's irrelevant.
Well, they're using containers. Why is that irrelevant?
No,
because we're talking
that
about
is
the
volume
surface area.
averaging.
Surface
A
area.
container is a
surface
central.
area.
You can express that just as easily in a volumetric format.
You understand surface? You know what a surface is?
No, I don't know what a surface is.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's why it's impossible to even reason with you, because you actually know less than nothing. Seemingly.
Yeah, your argument is inane.
It's amazing that you're an engineer. I mean, wherever
You
you
guys are hilarious, man.
No, you're a fake engineer.
It's right in front of your face. It's 5 words.
No.
Force on
The
a
rapid motion of
area.
collisions of molecules with the walls of its container causes pressure. Force
Thanks for
on a
repeating the
unit
same thing you said
area.
on a unit.
Well, we have to repeat
area.
you because you're a
Yeah.
pretender clown.
Area
Yeah,
is not a volume.
That's right. Exactly.
Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Bye bye. You don't know what you're talking about. You're an idiot.
Do you know what a barometric pressure gauge is? Let's say a mercury barometer.
Yes. What is
Okay,
that?
so that uses a surface area specifically. It's a physical device that
Yeah.
engineers have created using the knowledge that the scientific method provides. Engineers take what the scientific knowledge has come up with, they take that information and they design real life objects that are presented in the real world. Hence why you live in an advanced society today. Without science, without engineering, you live in the Stone Ages.
Are you lying?
Yeah,
about
but the beef is not with the real world. The beef is not with the real world. It's the
Yes, it
world
is.
outside our atmosphere, and that's not real. That's
Melissa,
the beef we've got. And
Melissa,
what does
That's why
what
you guys have
causes?
such a problem here, because you're basically denying the world which we exist in. Science
Melissa,
and
are you
engineering
lying
gave us
about
the
being
world
No,
today
we're
as it
denying your
is.
stupid assumptions. That's what
Right?
we're denying.
Melissa,
We're
are
not
you lying about
denying
being an
mechanics. We're
engineer?
not denying engineering. We're not denying applied sciences. We
Okay, well,
are
here's the
denying
device.
Theoretical
Okay, here's the device.
sciences.
Are you an
Theoretical
engineer or not?
Mercury
sphere
gauge.
assumptions.
Are you still saying you're an engineer?
Yes,
Yes, you're still maintaining you're an engineer. You
I'm
weren't
not. That's
lying
not
about
going to
that?
change. So you don't need to ask me that. You know my stance on that.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
What discipline
Are
are
you
you
like
lying
an
about
engineer in a
barometric,
video game, or is
gauge?
it an actual
What
real life
discipline are you
engineer?
actually in engineering?
Mechanical.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
you're not into the theory, no?
But he doesn't
Wait,
know
what?
the difference between a surface area and a volume. That's
No, he was.
incredible.
Yeah, no, he was getting that wrong. No, I was wondering then. Well, you should know then. What is it that causes the pressure gradient inside? Then what is it actually causes that and makes it stay within the surrounding the so-called ball? Then what causes that? What actually causes them gradients?
Gravity. That's why it's denser closer to Earth, and it's less dense the further away you go from Earth.
But how come it doesn't follow
Wouldn't
the
the molecules,
square law?
wait a minute, Nomi. So wouldn't the molecules wouldn't they be the same weight and the same size? So I don't understand how gravity wouldn't it just make it compact? No,
What do they make it come? I don't really understand your argument.
not like a compact atmosphere, would it not? If gravity was affecting
No,
it
because
and
the further you go, I mean, there's other forces at play here. It's not
All
just
right,
gravity.
not just
You have
gravity. Oh,
molecules
really?
colliding
Other
with
forces
each
than
other.
gravity?
There's all these different
Hmm.
competing things going on.
Gravity.
of course.
Which gravity?
Yeah, which one? The one that bends space, time, or the one that whatever
The
attracts
gravity that
masses? Which one are you
99.99%
using?
of people believe is real.
All right.
Right, but
And
what
we need to
gravity are you
believe-
using?
experimentally every day,
I
every
doubt
year
that
at
number
university.
is
Like
true.
I did myself. I did the Foucault's pendulum, or I'm sorry, I did the Cavendish experiment
Oh, let's.
in my
He said
freshman
experiment.
year.
He said
And
experiment. Right. Okay, let's go.
Excellent.
Natural
Game on.
phenomena observed.
so you're telling me natural phenomenon observed? Gravity.
Okay,
Did you use
gravity.
metal? Did you use metal or wooden balls?
Oh, hold on,
Wait.
Ali. Let's just
Use
get
big iron balls.
Well,
okay.
there you go then.
Iron.
Hold on, Allie.
This is good for you. It can
Hold
be
on, hold on, Owen.
magnetized. Always metal, isn't it?
All right.
It has to be heavier than the
good?
objects around it.
No, we're on to step
Okay,
two
So
now.
why didn't you
So unless
use
you
lead?
suspend
Hold
it-
on,
Why did you
everybody.
use
Hold on.
ferric
Give an
metal?
orthodox some space. We're on to step two. Observe phenomena. Gravity. So, what's your independent and dependent variable,
No,
please?
no. We're still on step one
Oh, are we?
because the phenomena observed, he termed it gravity. How do you observe gravity? What's it look like?
That's such a silly
Dropping a
question.
mic.
Things fall towards the earth, right?
Oh, okay. Wait a second. Yep.
The
wait,
biggest
wait.
mass around us.
That's not how gravity is defined, though.
Hold on,
Gravity-
hold on. Numi, hold on. Things fall to the earth. Observe phenomenon. Wait, and brilliant.
Or wait, you
Hypothesis,
could just say
please.
wait. We'll just say wait. How about that?
So wait.
That's
Yeah.
not an observed phenomenon.
So your independent variable is, or your independent variables are weight and height, and as you go further away from the Earth, your weight's going to change.
Hold on, you're going too fast for me. This is way too quick. Sorry, what's your independent variable?
My independent variable would be is going to be the height.
If height. So if
I
height.
think.
Yeah, we got rid of it because it was the
Hold on.
idiots.
If
All right,
height.
so this stuff is complicated. Okay, dependent variable is the dependent variable will be height.
I can't hear it. I'm getting a lot of feedback.
Anthony, can you go on mute, please?
Right, thanks, pal. Cheers. Bye bye.
Yeah, the weight is the dependent variable.
Oh, let me take this out. Hold on a second. We haven't gotten
You
past
guys are
step
going to
one
prevent me
yet.
from doing this. I don't even know why we're doing this.
No,
You're just
we're
gonna prevent me
asking.
from doing it.
How are we preventing you when I'm asking you?
Every time I've heard somebody try and go through the scientific
Every
experiment,
time is not
every
now.
single time you've prevented them from
Not now.
finishing.
I haven't prevented you from nothing. Things fall to.
Stupid snipers.
Hey, somebody's muting me.
No, that was some sniper.
You guys are back.
All right, I'm not preventing him from doing anything. I'm writing this
we'll get there,
down
I'm
so
sure.
everyone can see it. So, your phenomena observed was things fall to the earth. That's a good one. You're good with that. Okay. All
No,
right.
what's their weight?
So you
Due
observe.
to their weight, right?
No,
Things
you
fall
can't.
because they have
You
weight.
can't say that yet. You don't
Yeah, I
observe
can.
weight.
Why can't I say that? I'm sitting here on the ground. I'm observing weight. My ass.
Yeah,
is on
but
the
you're
air.
assuming that weight pulls you to the earth, right? You're assuming that you
No,
didn't observe that.
Yeah, we're humans. We think. I don't know what your point is.
This is correct.
There's a downward
I'm not a
acceleration
monkey.
force.
Would you like me to
It's
jump
not-
around and make noises to explain what's going on here?
This is called science.
Alternative hypothesis, please.
that your weight does not change as you move away from Earth's surface.
That's a good one. A constant downward
Hold
acceleration
on, Arwin.
force.
Hold on.
So weight does not change. Yeah, chance.
That's my null hypothesis.
What?
That's my null hypothesis that your weight
So
is
we
not
went-
going to change. as
Okay,
you move
okay,
away from
hold on
Earth's
a second.
surface.
Okay, hold on a second.
Or if you go on top of a mine that's
Hold on.
sections have been dug out.
Hold on,
so you stand
unorthodox.
top of a
Hold
large
on.
mine.
Hold on. We've now got to move it from alternative to null. Just give him a second. We're taking our
It's the
time
same
with you.
thing.
Okay. There we go.
Okay, so what is the alternative?
I just told you the
Hypothesis.
alternative.
No, you gave us the null.
That's the null.
Yeah. Okay, that's the
Does
alternative.
not.
See, I told you you
No.
prevented me from doing this. This is going exactly by what I've seen on your show. I have
Does
it written
not.
down
This is
exactly
the-
as you have stated it before.
Oh,
I'm doing
goodness gracious.
exactly what you wanted before. You guys are changing the goalpost.
You
Would
just
you like
said
me to play a
the
video?
null.
Would you like me to play a video where you go through exactly what you want and with this matches perfectly?
Okay, where should we put it then? You tell us.
Hold
You
on,
just said it was
hold
the null.
on.
First you said it was the
Let him-
alternative, then you said it's the null. So where do you want
They're
it?
essentially, it's the same thing stated differently.
No, it isn't.
Then I don't have an alternate hypothesis. I just have a null
You
hypothesis.
don't understand the method then.
And you
I
don't
think that's-
understand what
No, I
we're
don't
doing.
think you understand the method.
Oh, right. So
No,
it's back
no.
to this. So this took about 10 minutes of obfuscation and dancing around. Now we're being told, a bit like Mark Taylor on this very exact show, that we don't understand science. So you don't have an alternative hypothesis,
No.
correct?
No, I just have a hypothesis and a null hypothesis.
Your
Right.
argument is that the alternative and null hypothesis are the same thing.
I've never dealt with alternative hypothesis. I've just dealt with null hypothesis.
Then you don't do science. Then you are a complete idiot and you don't deserve to be here, you stupid little boy.
So yeah,
Look at
this
this.
is where we're getting from me preventing from going through this whole explanation.
Look at this.
We've just took you through it, you stupid little boy. What part of this aren't you getting, you stupid idiot? Yeah?
So,
We've
I knew
taken
this
you
was
through
gonna
it and
happen.
you
What I tell you,
failed
I'm psychic.
to follow. Shut your mouth, stupid little boy. You don't do science. That's the problem here. You don't understand the scientific method and we are attempting to educate you. It's very hard and it's very tedious because you are a retard.
And he's pretending to be an engineer and he's lying.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretending to be an engineer.
So shut your mouth and listen.
No, I don't want to shut my mouth and listen. This is a debate. You have to.
No,
present me
you
with
don't
an
have anything to
alternative idea.
offer to the debate because you don't understand what the debate is about. The debate is about proving things in the natural world, and the yardstick we use, the methodology, is called science. This is what we are trying to explain to a complete retard, and he is telling us that we don't understand it. That is because you are both arrogant and idiotic. So shut your mouth and let John tell you why you require both a null and an alternative hypothesis. Shut your mouth.
Okay, so you tell me what the alternative.
That means shut up and actually open your ears, dumbass.
No, what I tell you.
That means you don't speak next. Do you
Well, this didn't
understand
take
it?
long, did it?
That means you shut up. That means you don't talk.
Were you ready?
I think so.
Yep.
To do a hypothesis test.
Go ahead.
Excuse me. Are we ready yet? Okay. To do a hypothesis test experiment, you will actually have two hypotheses, the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis, which are stated in such a way that they are mutually exclusive. You can't have both hypotheses be true. The null hypothesis is the conclusion that is considered the default. You will accept this hypothesis if you fail to find sufficient support for the alternative hypothesis. You have the null and the alternative. The null hypothesis, the zero difference or no difference hypothesis, predicts changing one variable. The independent variable will have no effect on the variable being measured. Here's an example. Observe a phenomenon. Healthy type 1 diabetics suffer from diabetic ketoacidosis, apparently from the absence of adequate insulin. The alternative hypothesis is, given otherwise healthy type 1 diabetes patients, the lack of insulin will lead to diabetic ketoacidosis. The null is given otherwise healthy type 1 diabetes patients, the lack of insulin will not lead to diabetic ketoacidosis. You see the null part here. The null means zero difference. Null means zero, right? So you need both these hypotheses, the alternative and the null. So let's start over. Things fall to the earth. We have the null hypothesis. I don't know which one you want to put this in. Of course, weight does not change. So no change, right? So that's the null. What's the alternative hypothesis, please?
You're on mute at the moment, Unorthodox, because you couldn't keep quiet. Hover your mouse over your page, click the mute button.
Well, if we don't even need him. Weight does not change as you move away
Okay,
from the
I'm
Earth's
unmuted.
surface.
There you go.
Okay. Alternative?
Yeah, I'm not gonna buy into that because that's biology. We're talking about physics. If you wanna provide a physics example, we'll go ahead. In all of your previous
The scientific
testing of this,
method
you never mentioned an
goes
alternate
across all
alternative
disciplines.
hypothesis before, did you?
They're just
I've never
different
heard you mention that on the
subjects with the
show any
same
other
method.
time.
With the same method,
Have
they're
you
just
mentioned that on the
different
show before?
subjects. There is no scientific method for physics and one different for biology or chemistry.
Statistical hypothesis testing. You're using something specifically.
No, the scientific method is the same, independent of the particular branch of science that you're doing.
No, it's not. You can't use the
course it
exact
is.
same setup for physics that you can biology. Absolutely not.
Oh,
How are you gonna
Totally
isolate
untrue.
variables in
Right, we've
biology?
got yet another science denier on the panel. Literally a science denier. It is unbelievably pathetic. I just don't get it. How many times are we going to have Globers line up on this show and just come on and deny
What I
science?
tell you, you're not gonna let me get through the scientific proof of it.
No,
We
you're,
can do-
you're claiming that there's a different scientific method in each different.
We get it all the
unique
time,
branch of
Nummy.
science.
Every one of them does the
So
same
you
thing.
explain to me how you isolate a variable inside
don't
the human
realize
body
that-
when they're doing medicine. How could
What?
they possibly do that when there are millions and millions of things going on?
Why you
Well, you
isolate
can-
your variables. That's
isolate
why
a-
you
you can
follow the
look at
scientific
the
method.
example that he gave you earlier about ketoacidosis in diabetics, right? Can you go back to that, John? We can walk him through that. How you can isolate a variable in biology.
Yeah. Well, I just came up
People
with this
eat different
alternative.
things. They're at
We
different
don't-
temperatures.
well,
They're at different
Yeah,
pressures.
but we're sorting this out with this guy. He thinks that there's a different
Okay.
scientific method in biology, right? I mean, this is worth going through.
Anybody that's
Okay.
doing science at this very moment would tell you the exact same thing. You can't use the exact same
Sure,
test
they would.
as you would
Sure
in
they would.
biology
No,
as you do in physics. You
no,
can't
same method.
isolate variables
observe.
in
You can observe
biology.
the lack of insulin, right? So insulin becomes the independent variable, right? And
Yep.
when you add the insulin, you get the. I don't know. Oh, you could probably explain this better, John. I mean, you're more familiar with this example, but
Well, his argument is inane. The
Why don't we just go
scientific
through it and
method.
poke holes
See,
in it after I
shut
go
him
through it?
up. Can
I
you
don't
shut
know
him
how
up?
he can't do it.
After I go through it, then you can poke holes in it.
Yeah, go
we're not
through it.
asking you to go through it with us.
Okay.
He's
Oh,
now
you're preventing me
trying
from
to go
going
through
through
it
it.
with you.
No, we want you.
what
No,
a
we're gonna.
clown.
No. He's claiming that you can't isolate a variable in biology, but there's clearly an example that there's examples of things where you can, right? And that
Absolutely not.
that the lack of insulin causes ketoacidosis. We can take a blood sample from
Those people have different temperatures. They have different
Oh,
hormones. They
God.
have different
No,
levels
you're
of
right, but we can
different levels of
no, but
almost
we
every
can-
That is
chemical in
why
their
you
body.
have an alternative and
They're
a
different
null.
pressures.
Hold on,
It's the
we've literally
absence of-
only just given him this information. You've just gone through it literally 5 minutes ago and it hasn't sunk in. That's why you have an alternative and null hypothesis.
The only thing
Silence.
I'm finding, I've never even heard.
He's not
the
even
term
responded.
alternate
He's not literally, he
hypothesis.
hasn't even acknowledged what I've just said to him. A moment ago, he was telling us that you don't need an alternative hypothesis. Now I've just gone through it for a second time. John has already gone through it with you. That is why you have both an alternative and a null.
Why is
Silence
that again?
again. Are you going to acknowledge what I've just said to you?
You broke up.
Oh, for the love of God. That is precisely the reason you have an alternative and a null hypothesis.
not in physics. I've never heard the term alternative hypothesis in physics.
That's not something
you've
to
never
do with
taken a
physics. We are talking about the scientific method. Something we are trying to apply currently to your proof of gravity, and you are just being a science denier.
Okay, that's just patently absurd.
No, that's factually accurate on account of the fact you are denying the methodology of science, the scientific method, by A, saying that you don't need to have an alternative hypothesis, which just drives me up the wall, and then secondly by saying this methodology does not apply to physics, which is patently absurd.
Yeah, alternative hypothesis are relationship to statistics, and they use it in biology also because you can't isolate variables.
You can.
No, wrong.
You're just an
Okay,
idiot.
well, show me a definition of the alternative hypothesis that's going on in physics.
Why are you doing this? All you're doing is obfuscating it.
It's all physics, dude. Biology ultimately is physics. Chemistry is physics. It's the study of the physical world.
Exactly, that's the mother science. So you shouldn't have a problem finding it, right?
Physics,
is mother
everything
science.
falls under physics. You got it. Good job.
It's all physics. And it's the scientific method is the same regardless of what you apply it to. You don't change the scientific method because you're applying it to something else. It's a method that you can apply to some things in the world.
The way you've stated it,
Call
you
it the
can't
scientific
use the
method.
scientific
You have
in
to change
biology
it,
at all.
and it's not the scientific method anymore, right? And there are things that are beyond the purview of the scientific method, and in those cases, we don't apply the scientific method because it's not applicable. But if we're going to apply the scientific method, then we're going to follow the scientific method, regardless if we're studying diabetes, which is not caused by changes in body temperature, by the way, or if we're studying, the potential cause behind the things falling or things having weight, right? Like we have to be able to set up a valid experiment using the scientific method. And if we can't fulfill all of the criteria, then it's not a scientific experiment. It's just as simple as that.
Hey, okay.
Every reference I'm finding
Okay, we
says
don't
that the
need him.
alternate hypothesis is the opposite of the null hypothesis.
That's
So
what I
the
just told you.
hypothesis is the original
Right.
hypothesis.
Correct. So the null and alternative are diametrically opposed. You just literally have will and will not substituting each other. That is it. We have just literally told you this 5 minutes ago.
I already gave you that information.
You didn't give it us, you complete retard. We just gave it to you after finding out that you couldn't formulate an alternative hypothesis because you are deluded and a science denier. Now you've Googled it and found that it absolutely confirms what you were told by us 5 minutes earlier.
Then why did you stop me from speaking if I already gave you the
Because you are an idiot. You have nothing to offer. You are brain dead. So talking you through these steps only for you to talk over every single word that's being said, get it finally through your thick skull, then Google it, confirm it, and tell us that you've told us is absolutely outrageous and infuriating.
I already gave you that information. Why stop me?
You didn't give us anything. We're trying to formulate your proof of gravity into the scientific method. So far,
Okay, let's go through it.
not so
We're
good.
all conflated
Okay,
now.
let's start again. Give the guy a chance, okay? Let's do it.
No, we got it. We got it.
Okay.
No, I told you you'd prevent
There
me
it
from doing
is.
it.
There it is.
Absolutely,
Take a look at it.
100%
Okay.
correct.
So explain this to us. How does this prove gravity?
You want me to go through the experiment?
Yeah.
Okay. Step 1, make an observation. Okay.
Go to the Earth.
Okay.
We already
As you
did
move
that.
away from Earth,
I know. Let's let him summarize. Let's let him go
I
through.
can poke
it.
holes
I got
in
it written down.
You
Yeah, I
can
know.
poke
but let's
holes in it when I'm done, okay? You just let me get through the example. You've yet to let anybody get through one of these examples on your show.
just
You
let him go
prevent
through
them from
it.
speaking.
Nobody talk until he says he's done. Okay. Let's just let him go through it. We don't want him crying foul. Let's just let him do his thing. Okay.
All right, step 1, make an observation. Your weight changes as you move away from the Earth's surface. Step 2, ask a question. Why does the air pressure change? Or, I'm sorry, why does the weight change? Step 3, formulate a hypothesis. If the weight changes as you move away from Earth's surface, then it must be due to Earth's gravity. Step 4, experiment. Do an experiment at different heights, or you could do it where there's less mass, over the top of a big mine or something of that nature where they've curved out a bunch of the earth below it. Okay, so step forward, do the experiment. And in an experiment, a variable is manipulated by the experimenter. This is called the independent variable. So I'm manipulating height in this case. The dependent variable, the weight, is the event or expected outcome that's changed when the independent variable is manipulated. Okay, now my null hypothesis, the weight will not change regardless of how far you're away from the Earth's surface. That's it. Step 5, analyze the data, see what you come up with. Step 6, repeat it.
Can I
It's
take
really
this,
not that
John, or do you want
complicated.
to? So, in your relationship, your independent variable would be your cause. So, your independent variable would be weight, correct?
No.
Sorry, let's just have a little
Independent is
look.
the independent variable is the variable that the researcher manipulates,
Right, I got it written down there, Nathan.
which is what you vary in the experiment, which is your height. You vary your height.
Oh, my
and
bad. So
that is
if
dependent
so, the
upon
independent variable is
the
height.
effect you're looking
So
for.
sorry.
That's what you're.
Which
that's
is the
what
weight.
you're doing.
So the cause is the cause in your causal relationship is height. So if height, then weight.
No, if mass, you
Sorry,
can't
the
make it
independent
simple,
variable
Nathan.
is the thing that
We
you
could do- we
vary.
could do-
Let me just get it through to you. Try and pay attention. The thing that you vary is the independent variable, and that is your cause. So in your causal relationship, you are saying if height, then falling, or if height.
If you're away from the Earth due to your height.
Sorry, that's not an independent variable.
That's not an independent variable. How is that not an independent variable?
Because you
It
can
is,
only
it
have
just doesn't.
one.
It's not one that says anything about gravity at all. So
Yeah, I was
you
getting
completely
there.
missed the
Exactly
I mean,
point.
how does that not say anything about gravity? Is if your weight
You're
changes as you move
assuming
Because
gravity.
let me
You're
say it again,
expecting-
Numi. Let me just say it one more time. Because your independent variable is the cause in your cause and effect relationship. So
No, the
if,
cause is gravity. Height is what we're
no,
changing.
no. Gravity isn't. Where's gravity? Where have you got gravity
The
written
mass.
down? Where's gravity? Sorry, I don't see it on screen. Okay, dumbass. Try and listen again. If height, then if height is your independent variable, and your cause in this cause and effect relationship, height, right?
No, the distance you're away from the Earth due to your height.
Right. So if distance and height.
No, the height means that you're away from the Earth, Nathan.
Right. So if height, that would be your
No, not if
independent
height, if-
variable. How many times do I have to say it? So the cause in your cause and effect relationship is not gravity, but in your experiment, height.
No,
I think the more technical.
gravity is what we're observing.
We should be calling it gravitational potential, really, to be more technical. But
Let me ask you this: do you guys have a problem with the Cavendish experiment?
No,
You know
no,
that's
no, don't
reproduced,
try
like,
and
in
distract.
every
I want
university
you
in
to
America.
confirm back to me that you understand that in a cause and effect relationship, the independent variable is the cause, and in this instance, the cause is absolutely unequivocally not gravity. Do you understand that?
No.
okay,
Well,
let
then
me-
you
let me
are.
explain-
No. Then you need further explanation. It's okay, we get lots of retarded guests who believe the Earth is a sphere. So I can take you through it again if you don't understand. You are
I don't
trying to
understand.
establish.
Nathan, can I just say one thing? I just want to try to explain with an example to this guy. Okay, like when we're looking at the example of insulin, right? The presence or absence of insulin causing the reaction that we call diabetes, right? The independent variable is the insulin, right? So that would be the cause.
Yes.
So we know that the absence of insulin is the cause of diabetes, right? And in this case, so basically
You can have the absence of height. You can be
Right.
at zero elevation.
Yeah, I know, but it's like in order, but but what we're actually trying to prove has to be directly linked to the thing that we're able to control as the independent variable, right? So it has to be stated in your original hypothesis. That's the point that they're trying to make here, right? And you're not, gravity isn't actually part of your hypothesis.
It is. I said, if I'll restate it right now. Okay, the air pressure. I'm sorry, I was using air pressure in an earlier example, but this is pretty much identical. Let's see here. The weight is dependent on the height. The independent variable in this case is height, since the scientist manipulates it. And my hypothesis is, if the weight changes as you move up and away from the Earth, then it must be due to the Earth's mass causing a gravitational force.
Yeah, but so how are you isolating in order to prove that, you'd actually have to be able to isolate and change the Earth's mass?
You just go over a mine, right? Or go away from Earth.
No, because then
what he's saying
studies
is
that they do. There's something called microgravity where they measure mines.
No, because you're already assuming that the cause of gravity has something to do with the Earth's mass.
No, I'm making a concept called gravity, and then I'm proving it.
No, but you're not proving it, because you're not able to actually vary you don't have the thing that you're varying isn't the thing that you're proving, isn't the cause. Right? You're not able
you could do the same thing, but do it over a mine.
If you can't vary the cause, then you're not showing what the cause is through the use of
the cause is your distance away from mass.
Let's stop. Listen, what you're saying here is elevation causes weight change.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're saying. That's
because you're further away from Earth.
That's profound. You didn't test anything.
Mine.
You didn't test anything. The cause, elevation causes weight change. What does that mean?
It means gravity.
No, it means that the downward acceleration force may fluctuate.
Hold on, Arwen.
That's not part of your hypothesis.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Here's your hypothesis.
I just said it.
You said it about 10 minutes ago. You just can't conjure it right now.
Why not? It was in my hypothesis.
No, there's no hypothesis. It's on screen.
If height changes, then it's due to gravity.
That wasn't part of your hypothesis.
Yes, it was.
I wrote it down.
It doesn't
fit. If the weight changes as you move up and away from Earth, then it must be due to Earth's mass causing a gravitational force.
No, that's inventing a just so story.
Yeah,
that's inventing a story.
So how can you prove that it's not gnomes? Right? You're making
it just say it's anything. You could say it's a Japanese woman.
Come on,
meditating.
let's not talk
You're right.
over everyone. Give him a chance.
That's
at least trying.
Do what?
The fact that I could say it's a Japanese woman meditating is the cause is a problem for you, not for me.
No, because we can tell her to stop meditating. Or we can look at also the effects of air pressure. You could do this exact same setup,
right? But we can't
with air pressure.
But we're not able to change the independent variable of the mass of the Earth.
All you gotta do is go over a mine, walk on top of a mine.
You're not changing the mass of the Earth by going over top of a mine.
You're changing your relationship to the amount of mass that's directly beneath your feet.
You're still not proving the cause, right? You're not. You're just establishing that different relationships of altitude.
Really? You really believe that
we're establishing the cause, we're just not establishing why, like the bigger picture of
why is the cause.
That you're actually
for the love of God.
It's
really frustrating. That's what the scientific method does. It establishes a causal relationship unorthodox. That's the point of doing it.
The cause is the why. The cause is the why.
No, because you can all we understand just from a scientific perspective. Gravity makes things is mass attracting mass, and you could say also because of Einstein. Einstein says that it's because of the warping of space time. But you can always take that step further. Why does it warp space time? Why does it do this? Why does it do that?
Mutually,
you can always take it one step further.
But the idea of gravity is that there's a generalized attraction between masses, right? So your experiment does not in any way prove that there's a general attraction between masses.
So if you stand on top of a mine and you weigh less than if you stand above a solid chunk of the Earth, does that not say that it's due to mass? What else would it say if it doesn't say that it's due to mass?
Earth? That's a very interesting concept, and I can absolutely tell you that is totally nonsense. It's not gonna happen. You don't weigh less if you're suspended on a giant rope between two buildings with a lot of air below you. You don't weigh less. It's absolutely ridiculous. Come on.
You can
you
get a
don't weigh
have
feeling
to
to
realize
measure it.
this.
this example that you're using of standing over a mine, that's not even there's no validity. No one's ever going to show that, for one thing.
They do it every day. They do microgravity. They measure microgravity where they're mining,
Yeah,
so
but
they
they
can
just make up
determine
all
where the pockets are.
Do they
Yeah, but
actually
there's
they
so many
measure
variables that
some
even they're willing to acknowledge
gauge,
that
or do
it's
they
all this-
measure actual weight differences?
Do
'Cause,
what? No,
yeah, that's
R1?
you can have some measuring device telling you, oh, there's this much gravity waves. That doesn't actually change the actual weight. Your setup suggests the weight, that the weight changes, which would prove a fluctuation in the gravity. If you're standing, like people walking over a suspended rope, suspended between two very high buildings, like those rope walkers, they don't weigh less. Okay, they weigh exactly the same. So that entire concept is just ridiculous.
What you're
It's
not
totally
getting is that in order to establish cause, you have to be able to vary the independent variable, right? So if you can't vary if what you're trying to establish as the cause can't be varied in any way, then
You're
can't
varying height in this case.
Yeah, but so then you're establishing that height has a relationship with weighing, not that the cause is this thing gravity. That's just you're just tacking on as an invention.
Right.
Is it just-
You're saying if height is your cause in your causal relationship.
Height is the independent variable which you change to
Yes.
prove a cause or to demonstrate a cause.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but so what you're proving that there's a relation, that there's some sort of strong, there's a consistent
gradient.
correlation between height and weight. You're not proving the cause of that relationship in any way, because you can't actually
Correct.
vary what you're declaring to be the cause, which would be a general attraction between masses.
Here, I just summarized
You're
it.
only
You guys looking at my-
measuring
you guys looking at my
fluctuations
screen?
in the
Mine.
downward
Sorry. Do you
acceleration.
want to go ahead,
force that
John?
way.
Just summarize it because we've only got about 4 minutes left, tops.
Yes, here, quickly. This up here is nonsensical gibberish, and he'd fail 5th grade general science. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd have to, and hey, listen, I want to just say, like, I really don't think that you can honestly be an engineer. I think
Well, regardless of what you say, I'm an engineer, buddy. Okay.
okay,
Kind of-
really?
what
So
kind
we
of
just had this
engineer?
you don't even you're having this much trouble grasping the scientific method, even when
you
we're
said-
explaining.
you said-
I'm in accordance with 99.99% of the scientific community. You guys are the outlier.
That doesn't mean anything. We just had to
It means I understand
you just
physics that has
learned
been
scientific- you
proposed
just heard-
in that we're speaking about.
pretty clear that you just heard about the scientific method for the first time just today on this show. So I'm just saying.
So me being in accordance with everybody, all the scientific people on Earth, means that I'm not
It means absolutely nothing. Science by consensus is useless when you have an actual methodology of proving causal relationships between things. We're not interested in science by consensus.
Well, he's trying to make a case that I'm not an engineer because I'm explaining things the way science does in 99.999% of cases.
There is no science.
You're the outlier here, not me.
There is
No.
no science by consensus. It's not that we don't agree with science by consensus. There's no science by consensus. That's not science.
Right, exactly.
That's how you do science. They repeat the experiment and they
You
form
wanna-
a consensus
the
of
fact
the
that
outcome
you're
of the
bringing up-
experiment.
The fact that you're bringing up consensus just is further proving my point that you have no idea about science or the scientific method. Anybody who brings up consensus,
Maybe a
YouTube
good wrench
research,
monkey,
me and my
but you're not a
5+ years of a
scientist.
degree that studied exclusively science and the application of science.
No, you did it.
You have a better understanding of the
I
scientific
do.
method than I do.
Matter of
I'll just
fact,
tell you this, guys. It takes a long time to understand these ideas. Even
Oh my
today,
god, this is a guy who said he didn't need an alternative hypothesis. Absolutely unbelievable. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible, and of course a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!